When it comes to business, Stormy Daniels hasn't skipped a beat. The porn star and director says she's busier than ever on the strip club circuit.
If somebody came up to you and said, hey, you know that job you've been doing forever? How about next week I pay you quadruple? Show me one person who's going to say no.
While she's making good money off her notoriety due to the scandal involving the President of the United States, she is now offering to give back big money she took in 2016 from Donald Trump's personal attorney to keep her quiet. In a letter from Stormy Daniels' attorney to Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's personal attorney, Daniels, whose legal name is Stephanie Clifford, offers to send back the $130,000 she was paid in a so-called hush agreement signed just 11 days before the presidential election. The money was part of this non-disparagement agreement in exchange for her silence regarding an alleged sexual encounter with Mr. Trump. It was to keep Daniels from revealing anything about her alleged affair with Donald Trump that she says began in 2006. But that story has already hit the headlines multiple times since the agreement was signed.
Did she have a sexual relationship with the president?
Yes.
Daniels' attorney, Michael Avenatti, sent the letter offering to hand back the money with two huge caveats. One, that giving back the money would require the entire non-disparagement agreement and side letter to be null and void. And two, the letter says Ms. Clifford will pay $130,000 by wire transfer to President Trump himself. But Cohen and the White House have denied repeatedly any type of affair between the president and Clifford.
The president has addressed these directly and made very well clear that none of these allegations are true.
The letter comes after Stormy Daniels has already done an interview with Anderson Cooper for 60 Minutes. That has not aired yet. In the letter, it mentions allowing that show to go on after reports that Trump's attorneys are trying to keep the interview from airing.
I think the American people deserve to hear from her. And quite honestly, we don't understand why all of this effort is being undertaken to silence my client.
The watchdog group Common Cause points out the reason why the hush money issue is so important. The group says the payment could be a campaign finance law violation and has filed a complaint in the case with the Federal Elections Commission.
Our complaint hinges on, number one, this payment being made for the purpose of influencing an election. And Donald Trump's campaign did not disclose, did not report this expenditure to the Federal Election Commission. That's a violation of federal law.
Now, just moments ago, that watchdog group did amend their complaint, saying that Stormy Daniels' lawsuit now bolsters the complaint against the Trump campaign. We will wait and see what the FEC does. We should also mention that we did reach out to Mr. Cohen. We texted, we emailed, we sent a voicemail. He has not responded to give us a comment. Jake?
All right, Sarah Seidner, thank you so much. Let's bring back my panel. So first of all, the optics here for the president, he and his team are doing everything they can to keep this woman from talking. If nothing happened, why not allow her to talk?
Well, I'm glad that the In Touch interview was brought up in that previous package because Stormy Daniels gave a lot of detail in that interview. She talked about the longstanding relationship she had with Donald Trump, meeting him in hotel rooms, hanging out with Ben Roethlisberger in hotel rooms, meeting him on a red carpet. And so you have to ask, what do Trump's lawyers think that she has that could be even more embarrassing to the president? And there's been talk about, text. We know that Donald Trump doesn't usually communicate with these women one-on-one. In fact, Stormy Daniels said that herself. And so that naturally leads you to wonder, are there photos? Are there tapes? We're talking about an adult film actress. She makes tapes for a living. I don't know if that's what she has, but you certainly have to wonder. And you also have to wonder if the country could handle seeing something like that.
Oh, man. Thanks for introducing that subject, Amanda.
You gave me that question.
Well, there's also proof. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Separate from the fact that it would be embarrassing is that it would prove it. And so, I've said this before. I had this position with Bill Clinton and I have it with Donald Trump. Their extramarital affairs are their business between them and their wives. I really don't care. The only reason I think this story matters is because of the campaign finance issue and also because Jeffrey Toobin had pointed out that the deal looked like kind of a cut and paste job. And so the question automatically comes to mind is, are there other deals like this? And is the president compromised in some way? Are there people who could blackmail him? If she in fact proves this is true, then it does raise a question of, are there other people that could do this?
And people in the White House have actually raised that question. Are there other women who have similar stories like this with the president? But it's also very interesting how she has really taken a page out of the president's playbook here by raising this litigation, keeping her name in the headlines, offering to give back the money that was given to her, she says, by his personal attorney, Michael Cohen. It's very interesting how this has really had such staying power in the news.
One point on that, when asking if there are other instances, we do know there's one other instance of the president.
That former Playboy playmate.
Yes, and that wasn't the president's lawyer paying the woman off, but the National Enquirer, who is very close to Donald Trump, paid her essentially hush money to catch and kill that story. And in both cases, these payments were made to deprive voters from having damaging information about Donald Trump before the election. I mean, that's really the nutshell here that I think we should be zoning in on.
But I guess one of the questions that I would ask in terms of the question about whether or not this subjects him to blackmail, not just Stormy Daniels, but any other, do we really think that President Trump is embarrassed by this information getting out there? I think Melania Trump is embarrassed, but I don't think he cares.
I don't think he is embarrassed, but I do think he wants his wife to stay with him. I don't think, I think to a certain extent his denial could be merely just for that reason, not because he's embarrassed, but because it would be devastating to his marriage. And I have to say, I think if we follow your sort of idea, if there was a sex tape, I think even Donald Trump might be embarrassed by that.
What in the White House, how are they taking all of this? Do they think this is just sleazy Washington garbage, or do they understand that there are actual legal and campaign finance issues here?
No, I think people they can grasp just how serious this is. I think the press shop has been quick to downplay it. They say constantly this has been asked and answered, and we've addressed this.
When it hasn't.
It's just simply not the case.
That's not true at all.
No matter how often they say that, they were just saying it, the deputy press secretary, on the Sunday shows when they were asked about this, and that's just simply not true, especially in light of her suing the president just last week. So it goes to show the press shop is definitely trying to downplay this story. But as I said, there are certainly people in the White House who think that there could be more stories like this, and that if this could be an example for other women in other cases involved like that to come forward.